a United States Marine Corps. In the crucible of conflict and chaos amidst the thundering roar of battle, there exists a force unmatched in its tenacity, its bravery, and its unyielding resolve. They are the epitome of resolve, the guardians of freedom, and the very embodiment of courage. However, what occurs when the one you trusted turns out to be the one doing the crime? The one you considered to be a hero of the nation becomes the nation's problem. The Summer Baldwin. This case would surely be considered as one of the goriest cases to ever live into existence. Years of research may be required to discover and comprehend what runs in a serial killer's mind and thoughts. Many of the perpetrators had varied degrees of mental illness, different upbringings, and were subjected to violence as kids. They are conscious of their activities nevertheless. These people frequently present as completely normal to those around them, keeping them unaware that they are dealing with a vicious killer inside of them. Rosendo Rodriguez, a modest young guy who served in the U.S. Marine Corps, was the catalyst for it all. He was characterized by witnesses who were acquainted with him and gave testimony during his trial as a kind, responsible, and kind man who wouldn't harm anyone. However, soon it became evident that he had brutally murdered an innocent young life of this lady and artistically and uniquely disposed of her body. To fully comprehend this noisy and intricate case, let's go back in time and examine the criminal's early years to see how he became the monster that he is. September 13th, 2005. On the outskirts of Lubbock, Texas, among the normal assortment of multicolored rubbish, a city utility worker going about his daily business at a nearby landfill discovered something out of the ordinary. Curious, he opened a large black bag that appeared strangely undamaged and hefty, expecting to find something precious. To his horror, the first thing he saw when he unzipped the suitcase was a woman's well-groomed hand. The garbage worker quickly stopped the garbage truck that had brought the grisly suitcase and called the police after fully opening the suitcase and finding the naked body of a young woman with her arms crossed around her neck and her knees drawn up to her chest. It was nearly hard to find any evidence at a huge metropolitan dump, but the detectives were hoping to uncover any kind of clue as to the identity of the lady and how she got herself into that position. The landfill was promptly cordoned off, and the truck and its contents were thoroughly examined. No identification or personal items were found in the suitcase. The girl's small tattoo of the word summer on her leg was the sole distinguishing characteristic on the body. While forensic experts worked to identify the victim and find her killer, medical examiners were left to determine the cause of death. Later on, they've distinguished that her cause of death was positional asphyxiation, although the woman was still alive when she was placed in the suitcase. She suffocated because of the small area and tight space. An autopsy revealed several injuries inflicted while she was alive, including signs of sexual abuse. Summer Baldwin, 29, was identified as the victim by fingerprint analysis submitted to the national database in the United States. By the time her corpse was discovered, she had been dead for nearly an entire day. Summer Baldwin. Who was she? Summer Baldwin was born in Washington in 1976. She was well known for her kind, open, and sweet personality. She was also a bright student with a lively personality and many friends. Summer had ambitious goals for her life and enrolled in a community college after high school, but later found her university schoolwork challenging. With the help of her parents, Summer relocated to Lubbock in the hopes of starting over after friends welcomed her to Texas for a change of pace and prospects. It's unclear when Summer's life took a turn for the worst, but she progressively developed an addiction to alcohol and illegal substances without asking her family for support. As her addiction grew, she lost her job and established friends with people who had criminal histories. Consequently, she turns her back to all her dreams and trades it all to become an escort. Unbeknownst to her parents of her cruel path, they were fooled to believe that their daughter was slowly making her dreams come true. But horror would eventually struck her parents when they later learned of their daughter's horrific murder case. Summer Baldwin was a crucial witness in a significant federal prosecution involving counterfeiting. This suggested she may have been the victim of a gang-related murder, which piqued the FBI's curiosity and led to a closer examination. The first person the police met with was Rebecca, the best friend of the late Summer Baldwin. Rebecca told her about Summer's profession and recalled many of her lovers, one of whom had been violent, had touched her a lot, and had followed her about after they broke up. The initial suspect in the crime was identified as this individual. That same day, Summer's ex-boyfriend was taken into custody and brought to the police, although he vehemently denied having anything to do with the case. Furthermore, he seemed sincere in his shock and sorrow at hearing of her passing. His drunken involvement in a bar brawl the night before the catastrophe gave him a solid alibi. The police were forced to free the first and only suspect at that point. A second acquaintance, and in a sense, co-worker of the deceased, gave the investigation far more crucial clues. A woman by the name of Marjorie saw Summer the night before the murder, and they even spoke briefly. On September 11th, Marjorie recalled, a red van pulled up to the convenience store, from which a young, fit man with a Latino appearance got out and probably went shopping. While this was going on, Summer noticed her buddy emerge from the passenger side to welcome her. She informed Marjorie that this man was her client as an escort, whom she had met with twice in recent days. When the man left the store, he took the wheel, and Summer quickly climbed back into the van with him. After that, Marjorie carried on with her day without noticing the direction the van was traveling in or the location of the couple's planned route. She added that she had never seen the man before and assumed he was not from the area. The only description she could think of was that, because of the darkness outside and her own lack of light, he had very short hair, like a military man. This brand of suitcases was found to be offered in dozens of stores around the city, but because of the completely kept barcode, this particular massive model was only found in 2 locations. It looked like a strange suitcase that had become a young woman's coffin. Although it had rubbish and filth all over the outside, the wheels still appeared like new. The item seemed to be brand new due to the impeccable condition of the linings and all of the tags. The fact that the price tag's plastic connection was still in place indicates that the original owner of the luggage hadn't removed it. In the same part of the city where the girl was last seen alive, a Walmart store is where the find was found. 2 purchases were made. The first was in the afternoon, and the second purchase was made at approximately 2 a.m. Suspicious police officers got there immediately and demanded to see the store's CCTV footage because this seemed rather weird. Upon reviewing the video, they learned that the older couple who had bought the first bag were not at all suspicious because they could be found and could justify their purchase as a vacation item. Despite this, a young Latino guy who bought the second suitcase had a military-type physique, short hair, and a muscular frame. The possibility that this was the man the witness had claimed to have seen in the supermarket parking lot with the dead girl raised suspicions. The man also bought a pair of disposable gloves at the register. The exterior video cameras that were placed in the shop parking lot revealed more details. They captured the man packing up his luggage and placing it into a red van as he left. The police thought they had identified their culprit, as there were too many parallels. It was now only a matter of identifying and questioning this individual. Police quickly discovered that Rosendo Rodriguez, a U.S. Marine Corps reserve, was the owner of the vehicle. Rodriguez had never been arrested before and had no criminal record. He was lucky to have been in the unit for a few days for training, so finding Rodriguez was difficult at first because he wasn't staying at the hotel where his unit was located. However, after obtaining his information, police discovered that Rodriguez had taken out a sizable amount of money from an ATM at a different hotel. Rodriguez had most likely not slept at the hotel, where he used the ATM to pay for the gloves and bag. Rather, on September 11th, a Thomas Rodriguez who fit Rodriguez's description checked in. Fortuity backed the investigation when it turned out to be the same person going by a different name for unidentified reasons. Rodriguez had checked out of the hotel room he had rented, but it hadn't been cleaned yet, revealing important evidence such as dried blood-like splatters and brown stains on the walls and carpet. A new suitcase tag discovered next to the bed, and used contraceptives and disposable gloves in the trash. The dried blood in the room was identified as Summer's by forensic investigation, and Summer and Rodriguez's DNA were found on the gloves and contraception. Without a doubt, they had identified the murderer, but by the time Rodriguez left the city, they had all the information they needed to track him down. Born Rosendo Rodriguez III on March 26, 1980, in Wichita Falls, Texas, he was raised in a low-income family of Mexican immigrants. His father, who was described as aggressive and domineering, battled alcoholism and frequently mistreated his wife and kids. Rosendo was an aggressive child who frequently got into fights at school, but as he got older, he discovered how to control his rage. Following high school, he attended Texas Tech University, moved out from under his parents' roof, and worked as an office clerk and courier at a pizzeria before opting to enlist in the U.S. Marine Corps. Rodriguez was well-liked by ladies due to his physical attractiveness and well-educated background. His military colleagues characterized him as quiet, balanced, disciplined, and responsible. He was also viewed as a kind buddy who was always willing to provide a hand. When the police arrived at Rodriguez's San Antonio home on September 15th, he was composed and didn't seem to realize the seriousness of the situation. During the search, they discovered his laptop and cell phone. During the initial weeks of the interrogation, Rodriguez refused to comment and denied being involved in the murder of Summer Baldwin. However, the overwhelming amount of evidence against him led him to follow his attorney's advice and start making statements, presenting his version of events that differed significantly from the scenario developed by the forensic experts. Rodriguez started out by claiming that he had mistakenly reserved a hotel apart from his fellow service member. Only the name of the hotel chain they were meant to stay at, picked a hotel at random, and only found out the others were at a different location after checking in. He declined to move because the military command said it wasn't required, and he didn't give an explanation for his registration under a false identity. Rodriguez claimed to have met Summer Baldwin by coincidence on September 10th. That evening, he saw a blonde woman sitting on a bench by the road, covering her face with her hands as if she were crying. Intrigued and worried, he stopped to see if she was okay and needed help. Following their initial meeting, they proceeded to his hotel room where they had several drinks and spoke, but nothing intimate. Rosendo took her home the next morning, but they had made plans to get together that evening. At approximately 9 o'clock at night, he picked her up at the same place, and they proceeded to a store where Summer met her friend Marjorie. Rodriguez said that they had had consensual relations when they returned to the hotel. He was shocked, though, when Summer grabbed a knife out of her bag and began threatening him because he had no idea that he was seeing a call girl. He then took her weapon away. Rodriguez said he acted in self-defense and didn't want to injure Summer when she slumped on the bed and began vomiting and foaming at the mouth. She stopped breathing after a minute, and he thought she was dead. Panicking, he ran to the next store and got gloves and a suitcase. Then, knowing that the luggage would be carried to the landfill early the next morning, he brought it back to the hotel and dropped her corpse in the garbage. After that, he drove home after returning the rental car and checking out of the hotel. Numerous discrepancies in the suspect's statement led authorities to believe Rosendo Rodriguez was lying. For example, Marjorie, who met Summer the night of the murder in the parking lot, stated that Summer had made it clear to her that the guy was one of her clients, with whom they had previously met for a price. Rodriguez insists that their relationship was consensual, but evidence discovered on Summer's body implies that she was exploited. Probably since their first night was agreeable, Summer consented to see him again. Additionally, Rodriguez claimed that he only struck Summer in the face once to calm her down, but Summer died of a seizure. Baldwin had 30 new bruises on his head and body the night of the murder, in addition to many stab wounds. He also claimed that Baldwin was already dead, but authorities confirmed that she was still indeed alive when he packed her in the suitcase. When police seized his laptop computer, a review of his search history revealed an unsettling pattern. Rodriguez had been actively searching for information about a girl named Summer for 3 days prior to his arrest, paying attention to whether there was an ongoing search for her and whether her body had been found in a landfill. Rosendo Rodriguez, the defendant, was hoping to delay his execution until the very last moment, despite the overwhelming evidence against him and the enormity of his actions. The court found Rodriguez guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced him to death by lethal injection since Summer Baldwin was 3 months pregnant at the time of her terrible death. Rodriguez and his lawyers submitted many appeals, alleging errors and wrongdoing by the investigators, but each one was turned down. Rodriguez even maintained a blog about policy and criminal justice issues while he was incarcerated and awaited death. March 27, 2018.
San Antonio man known as the suitcase killer died by lethal injection tonight. Rosendo Rodriguez III was executed for the 2005 murder.
Nearly 10 years after his horrific deeds were discovered, Rosendo Rodriguez was finally executed. On the day after his 38th birthday, he was put to death in the Huntsville Penitentiary in Texas. This was the 4th execution in Texas and the 7th execution nationwide in 2018. Hey, thanks for sticking with us today. Check out this other thrilling videos for you to watch, and while you're at it, hit that subscribe and like button and let us know down below your thoughts on today's case. Until then, take care.